The Druzhba pipeline is among the largest of its kind in the world, supplying a number of European countries. Now, a leak has been detected on a Russian pipeline delivering crude oil supplies to Europe. The affected pipe was part of the network connected to Germany and was immediately shut off, whilst a second pipe on the line is still operating. Officials say that although the cause is still unknown, no foul play is suspected.
60 armored vehicles, 40 missile launchers, 1 oil refinery in the crosshairs. North Korean forces thought sheer mass would overwhelm Ukraine's defenses, but instead they ran headfirst into a wall of drones, sensors, and jamming that turned the battlefield into a trap. What happens when a vulnerable energy hub becomes the central prize in a multi-domain duel? This isn't just about tanks burning, it's about tempo, survival, and the hidden secret that forced a retreat.
The president warns Russia is preparing for a decisive energy attack on all Europeans when the temperatures drop. Moscow keeping the taps to a key pipeline to Germany turned off, leaving Europe at risk of gas shortages this winter. Russia's energy company didn't restart the flow of gas through the Nord Stream 1 pipeline on Saturday as planned, citing an oil leak. Analysts at Wood Mackenzie, an energy research firm, told City News in an email that should flows not resume, an extremely cold winter in Europe could lead to strict energy rationing. It's believed the move is potential retaliation for supporting Ukraine.
Stay with me, because the first 5 minutes of this fight changed everything. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. The shock wasn't the tanks. It was the refinery. A fuel complex on the edge of contested ground became the chosen prize, and everything around it turned into fire lanes and kill zones. What mattered wasn't just the stacks of metal or the barrels of oil stored there, it was the flow. Every armored brigade, every artillery strike, runs on fuel. Trucks need it, generators need it, and civilian systems collapse without it.
The new leak comes after 2 underwater Russian gas pipelines to Europe began venting following a series of suspicious blasts last month. Germany said Wednesday that despite the reduced flow of oil, it has enough stored supplies. According to Polish authorities, the leak was found on the Druzhba pipeline in southwestern Poland on Tuesday.
It's believed the move is potential retaliation for supporting Ukraine.
This was more than a fuel site, it was a lifeline that fed engines across 2 fronts. North Korean units knew that. They rolled forward not to hold terrain but to cut the artery. 60 armored vehicles led the way, engines pressed hard against mud and snow. Behind them, missile batteries unfolded like steel teeth, their crews cued by radar picks and drone spotters overhead. Artillery threw out a curtain of fire, meant to seal the approach and blind response teams before they could reinforce. For a moment, it looked like raw weight alone might crush through to the refinery gates. But then the struggle shifted. Instead of breaking through, the spearhead began to slow, not from destroyed vehicles but from something far more invisible. Every 100 feet, the formation stalled, halted by unseen resistance. Radios sputtered, drone feeds flickered into static. The armored mass had walked directly into an electronic mesh laced ahead of time to catch them. ISR drones, aerial eyes with infrared sensors, hovered wide above. They sucked in thermal patterns of the moving columns, feeding that data back through encrypted links. The refinery had been ringed with mobile command vans that stitched it all together. From there, operators saw not just outlines of tanks but heat signatures of engines, even the difference between running and idling gearboxes. With every pause and surge, the defenders tracked the rhythm of the assault. Closer to ground level, smaller reconnaissance scouts creeped through trenches and debris. These robot crawlers carried payloads of sensors rather than weapons. One scanned soil vibrations where treads approached, another pushed a camera through drainage grates to watch flanking infantry. Individually, each was expendable. Together, they served as a net that mapped every path of advance. On top of that came the jamming. Vans armed with directed emitters pulsed against frequencies used by missiles and artillery. Attack orders broke apart mid-signal. Targeting drones circling above blinked out, their feeds collapsing as if a knife had cut the cord. Inside armored turrets, gunners heard scrambled commands. It was coordination, not armor, that failed first. The effect resembled predators driven into a cage. Each time the armored groups tried to push forward, they felt the grip of an unseen force tighten. Machine weight alone couldn't push past blank screens and dead radios. Like wolves caught in hidden traps, the larger force fought against restraints it couldn't even see. This is where modern defense lives, not in the blunt strike but in the fusion of sensors, signals, and firepower around critical nodes. Research from war colleges has long argued that infrastructure is a paradox. On one hand, it is a bright target, a liability that can cripple forces if destroyed. On the other, with networks of detection and denial layered over it, that same site can become a fortress. The side that adapts faster to this paradox decides the flow of the fight. Each spearhead tried again, grinding forward in bursts. Yet the picture was the same: advance a few hundred feet, pause, lose contact, stall. Engines ran hot while crews waited for orders that never arrived. Fuel lines stayed intact. Storage tanks still pumped to armored transports on the rear. Every delay gave Ukrainian operators time to recalibrate, to feed more drones into the sky, to widen the curtain of jamming that bled momentum away. By the time the armored wave recognized the trap, the refinery stood braced, still moving fuel into defensive corridors. What was supposed to be a soft target had instead become the pivot around which both armies now swung. Numbers alone no longer told the story. What changed the battle was a fuel node transformed into a testing ground for survival under digital fire. And once that ground held, the tempo of the war shifted in ways no one on the assault side expected. The battle did not hinge on which side stacked more armor. It came down to tempo, to who controlled the rhythm between signal and silence, and who kept one vital node alive under pressure. Tanks stalled, missiles misfired, but the refinery still pumped fuel into the fight. In this kind of war, infrastructure is not background, it is the front line. Protecting it is no longer a side mission. It is the core of modern defense, the ground on which survival depends. Subscribe and join a community that seeks to understand the realities of modern conflict.